Okay, we are ready for our last new lesson of this PLP unit. It is 5.6 and it is talking about volume of a sphere this time. So volume, remember, is the air filled up on the inside, or what you could poke a hole and fill up water or whatever, something filling the inside of this sphere. So it's just a very basic, simple formula, and here it is. To find the volume of the sphere, you're going to take this weird fraction, 4/3, you're going to multiply by pi, and then you're going to multiply by the radius, not squared this time, but cubed. So that means the radius times the radius times the radius. I am going to rewrite it with the radius cubed coming first, because again, what you don't want to make the mistake by doing is doing 4/3 times pi times the radius and then cubing that whole thing. All we want cubed is the radius, and then we want to multiply it by 4/3 and by pi. So the order of these two don't matter, but you do only want to cube the radius, not this whole thing all 3 times. That would be a way big wrong number. So this is the formula I'm going to use to find the volume of a sphere. Okay, so here we go. Let's just jump right in. What is the volume of a sphere with a radius of 6.9 feet? So we're going to take 6.9 and we're going to cube it. We're going to multiply that by 4/3 and we're going to multiply that by pi. And that's all we're going to do. So you need your calculator for this lesson. 6.9 cubed. Okay, you might remember from an earlier video, I have a squared button, but I do not, my calculator does not have a cubed button. So what I'm going to push instead is, everyone should have this little caret key. It looks like a rooftop of a house, and what that means is to the power of. So this is going to raise a number to the power of whatever number you push. So it can be to the power of 2 if you don't want to do this little x squared button, or it could do to the power of 3 or to the power of 4, or whatever you need the exponent to be. And we need the exponent to be a 3. So I've got 6.9. I'm going to push this little rooftop, this little caret key button. That means to the power of, and I need it to be 3. Or if you want, you could always push 6.9 times 6.9 times 6.9. 3 times means the same number is multiplied times itself 3 times. Okay, and then I'm going to multiply by 4/3, so times. And for my 4/3, I have to use this ABC button to make a fraction. So I'm going to do 4 ABC button 3. And I know it looks weird, but that actually means 4/3. And then I'm going to multiply by pi. And remember, for pi, we're not using 3.14. That would be you rounding it. We don't want it rounded. We want the whole, all the digits of pi. So the best way to do that is to find your actual pi button on the calculator. So we're going to multiply by pi. And then we're going to push equals. And that's a crazy, irrational decimal, but we are going to see what we're going to round it to, and it looks like the nearest tenth. So our final answer is going to be 1,376 point. It would be 0.0, but that 5 after it is going to bump that 0 up to a 1. So 1,376.1. And that is cubic feet. But again, since you're going to be doing this on Delta Math, I don't believe you need to do a label. You would just need to put in the correct rounded number. Okay, number 2, we're going to literally just keep doing this equation all these times. Oh, the difference is, in the previous one, it gave us a radius. This one, however, it gives us a diameter. And if you'll remember from a previous video, the radius is what we need. This is the radius. If it gives us the whole diameter, that's a problem. We have to cut it in half so that we can turn it into a radius. So you're going to have 2 steps on this one. You're going to first have to take 57.1 and divide it by 2 so that we can calculate the radius. So 57.1 divided by 2 is 28.55. So I'm going to really quickly just write 28.55, and that's what we need for our radius. Now we can do the rest of the work. So we're going to take radius, which is 28.55, and we're going to cube it times 4/3 times pi. And I'm literally just going to type that in my calculator. So 28.55 to the power of 3 times 4/3 times your pi button. And that is a very large number, 97,000. Sorry, let me move this back over. 97,478.0, but the number after 0 is bigger than 5 or above, so we're going to give this 0 a shove up to 1. And I think this said centimeters, so there's the label. All right, let's keep rolling through this. The third one, the third one gives us a radius, and that's what we need to use. So we don't have to turn this into 1/2 of it or anything. We're just going to use it. We're going to use 39.6. So 39.6 cubed times 4/3 times pi. I'm just going to type that into my calculator, and that's all there is to it. So 39.6 to the power of 3 times 4/3 times pi equals a really big number again. So that is, 260,000. 260,120.2, but the 5 is bigger. It's a 5 or above, so we're going to give 2 a shove, and it's going to be a 3. So that is meters. If you like to add your commas, you can do that to your big number, but I don't think you put a comma into Delta Math. I think just leave it out. Okay, and then the last one that I'm going to do with you is a sphere with, again, sorry, it's giving you the whole diameter. So if it gives you the diameter, we have to take 9.9 and divide it by 2, because we only need half of it because we need the radius. So 9.9 divided by 2 is 4.95. So that's what we're going to use for our formula. So 4.95 cubed times 4/3 times pi. All right, I'm going to type that whole thing into my calculator. So 4.95 to the power of 3 times 4/3 times pi equals 508.0, and the 4 after it will not bump it up, so we're going to leave it 0.0. I do think that you need to type in the 0.0 on Delta Math. Even if it is 0.0, don't just leave it 508, because rounded to the nearest tenth is a 0, so put 0.0 if you get one that stays at 0. Okay, I would like you guys to turn the page, and, well, if I could turn it. And then what you'll see is you have 4 of these problems this time to try on your own. So go ahead and pause the video and try these on your own, and then you can fast forward ahead to check with my work and make sure you got them correct. All right, since you should have already done this, I am going to work super fast. The first one had a diameter, so the first thing you should have done is divide it by 2. If you did not divide by 2, you probably missed this whole problem. That was 3.15. So I'm going to take 3.15 and cube it times 4/3 times pi. That is my calculator says it's 130.9, and the 2 does not bump the 9 up again, so just 0.9. Okay, the second one you guys should have done does give you just a radius, so thankfully you don't have to do the division first. You can just go straight with 24.2 cubed times 4/3 times pi. And you're just going to type that directly into your calculator. 24.2 to the power of 3 times 4/3 times pi. And I got 593. Oh, no, sorry. That is actually 59,365. much bigger than it looked at first glance. And then 0.5, but the 7 after it is going to bump this 5 up to a 0.6. All right. The third problem is, back to diameter, which that's a bummer. So 9.6, I feel like, did we do a 9.6 over here? Oh. No, we didn't. I thought we did. Okay, 9.6, but it's a diameter, so we're going to have to divide it by 2. So 9.6 divided by 2 is 4.8. So we're going to take 4.8, we're going to cube it, we're going to multiply by 4/3 and by pi and see what big answer this is. 4.8 to the power of 3 times 4/3 times pi button equals 463.2. The 4 after the 2 does not bump it up. So just that one. Okay, you now have the rest of this paper to show your work and go ahead and do the delta math to practice finding the volume of spheres.